Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Sean Wittmeyer from Waterworks Games. His latest title, Red Dog Junction, a space cowboy adventure, is currently on Kickstarter. Sean, welcome to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I tell you, I hear about space adventure and cowboys and what a genre, man. We're going to get into it in today's episode, but before we get there, this is the first you and I are meeting, so I'd like to get to know you a little bit first, if that's okay. How long have you guys been in this industry for?
Yeah, great question. I've been in the board game industry for 2 or maybe 3 years. It's pretty new, pretty green to the world, but I love it. It's a game in its own.
And you've done several titles as well, right? I think you done like 4 campaigns or something like this?
This is it's technically our third campaign. The first campaign was Alpenglow, a ski board game that I did as a side gig with my wife, and it was a really big success by our definition, and a lot of people really received it well. So we figured, hey, once you build up the board game empire on the publishing side, it becomes a lot easier to do another game and another game, and in that process, you meet so many people, you build a community, and that's kind of the thing that keeps you going.
No, for sure. How long have you what do you do outside of board games? What's your day job?
Yeah, day job. I'm a licensed architect, so
Oh,
I
wow.
design buildings for a living. I've worked on everything from lab buildings and hospitals. Worked on the Portland airport for a little bit. I've done remodels and custom homes. So that's the day job, the bread and butter. But I've always had a passion for systems design,
Mm.
analytical thinking, and game design, and my kind of academic research was on how game design can be part of the way that we design cities and the way that we design buildings, so that you don't have one guy sitting in an office coming up with a master plan. It really ties into the people who are going to use the space, whether it's a building or if it's a city.
That's crazy. So your whole thesis and stuff was on gamification of industrial
Yeah,
design, or
yeah. Yeah,
wow.
there's a whole world of gamification when it comes to urban design, and the hotbed of that kind of research right now is out in the Netherlands. There's a ton of books like Play the City. There's a whole city called Almere, which actually tested out what happens when you set rules for the development of a city, and you just kind of let the people, the occupants, the people who buy the property and develop it, choose what they're going to build. And it's amazing what can happen when you don't dictate everything as a planning commission or as a head architect or any of that. So it's pretty amazing, and it's really no different than games.
That's
You're setting up
crazy.
rules and you're allowing the people to play it. And as long as you set the rules in such a way, you design the game so that the outcomes are the kind of outcomes you want. Healthy, vibrant cities, building communities, things like that. Then it's amazing how creative people can be.
It reminds me, I saw a study one time when they're talking about, I think it might have been like mold or fungus, and comparing that to urban planning, and how
Yeah.
they, nature sometimes can even show you the optimal way to kind of design streets and things like that, and routes and all. Did you get into
Oh yeah.
any of that in
Oh,
your schooling,
complexity
or?
theory. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And complexity theory or game theory, they're very similar.
Yeah.
That's where you, instead of a linear system where one person is telling everyone where to go or what to do, complexity theory is the matter of a nonlinear system where everyone kind of does what's in their best interest, whatever that happens to be.
Hmm.
And that's how people drive cars, right? We all go to where we want to go, especially in the United States, where we don't have a lot of places don't have that great of public transit. So
Yeah.
trains and buses, all that, you know, you have to live near a bus stop or near a train station, and the train has to go where you want it to go. So if you don't have trains to go everywhere, then you're going to drive a car because it goes from where you want to go or from where you are to where you want to go. So that's more of a complex kind of system. It's amazing.
Oh, that's
So
so
how do
cool.
you build that in?
And were you like a big gamer when you're younger? Like, is this something like you're Like, was board game? When did board games enter your life? Like,
Yeah, great question. Board games have always kind of been in my life, but not like a typical gamer, I guess. I remember playing like Mealborn and Monopoly and Sorry and all the kind of American classics.
mm-hmm.
But um, I think some of the more rich moments with friends was when we go camping and go play Risk, and we'd have that set up and it'd take like a whole day. I think my recent kind of fascination with board games kind of came in when I learned how to play Agricola and Great Western Trail, and that was like 10 years ago. And I think there was such a rich crop of games that were coming in, and I was surrounded by family and friends who were starting to game that way, bring these games out onto the table. And I think I always wanted something that was a little more than just rolling a die or flipping a card. So
Yeah. And you said your wife plays games with you as well? Like, is she get pretty
yeah,
heavy
we
into the
both
hobby?
love playing games. Yeah, we love playing everything from spades and hearts, things like that. We love two-player games. We also love being outside, camping, backpacking. So we enjoy some small games that you can stick in your backpack that isn't too heavy. But we'll make space to play like Seven Wonders Duel, for example, or Akrotiri. Those are both great games. But we also love heavy games. So most of the Vital Lacerdas, we have them all. We play them. They're great. We just learned Unconscious Mind, excellent game. So definitely our wheelhouse.
What made you want to kind of take that? Like, because I can kind of see the threads here of like designing, right? It seems to be in your DNA.
Yeah,
So
I'm a
designing a
designer by heart.
yeah,
Yeah,
so designing a game seems like kind of a natural fit. What's not always a natural fit is saying, okay, I'm going to go launch a business, right? And I'm going
right.
to put this on Kickstarter. I'm going to do crowdfunding. I'm going to learn that whole side versus just kind of pitching it to a publisher. What made you kind of decide that you're gonna take that leap and go that path? I'm sure you're not like you're a busy guy, I imagine, with your job, right? So it's not like you got oodles of time just kind of looking to fill. So what made you kind of do that, take that jump?
Yeah, with Alpenglow, our first game, there aren't that many ski resort games
Mm,
out there. Just it's kind of an untapped opportunity, and there's a lot of people who love skiing and a lot of people who also love board games. So um, we were making this game Alpenglow, and it kind of pulled from all the little things that mechanics that we like from other games, and we play tested it with friends and family, and when people play it, they're like, "Hey, this game is cool. Like, you should make it real,"
yeah,
air quotes. And well, making it real is a lot of work. I mean, it's kind of like the first 90% of the project, whatever kind of creative pursuit you're working on, is usually the easiest 90%, right? Then the final 10% is like 90% of the time.
yeah,
It's finishing everything, making sure crossing T's, dotting I's. So, a lot of people felt that we had potential in Alpenglow. So we I did a ton of research. I figured out what we need to do to get the game ready for Kickstarter. We chose Kickstarter because we didn't really have much in terms of expectations for the game.
mm,
We are a true Kickstarter. Like, if we didn't get the money from the Kickstarter, the game isn't happening
yeah,
because we didn't have the capital to do it. So we set aside a little money for advertising, and from a lot of popular board game blogs, uh, Jamie Stegmeier's blog, right?
oh, that's great.
And number of others. I learned a ton, and it's like, hey, I have a little background in marketing. I have background in building things and understanding complex systems. Bringing together a building, pulling from thousands of parts from all these different places and coordinating all these different people is really no different than publishing a board game, really.
Yeah,
So I just followed on the path and just executed it and learned as we went. I'm a data guy, and things that worked, we did more of, and the things that didn't work, we stopped. And Alpenglow was a pretty big hit for us, albeit kind of minor compared to a lot of the bigger publishers out there. But
yeah,
it's a stepping stone.
yeah, yeah. I always say like the toughest part is um, being willing to figure things out, right? That literally is the one thing that
Yeah,
either you're going to do it or you're not, right? It's
yeah,
this willingness to figure things out. And people that don't like to try to figure things out, it's probably not for them publishing, right? Because a lot of stuff you got to try to figure out.
Right.
But if you're kind of person that says, you know what, I like to kind of figure things out. I'm not afraid to kind of, I know what I don't know, and that I don't know what I don't know, but I know that I can go and try to figure this out. And having that willingness, that's half the battle. And you can figure this out, right? It's just takes time and effort. And but there's so many resources that you just named a number of them, right? Jamie Stagmar's blog is a perfect one. It's literally a paint by numbers of how to take a product to market, and he takes you through all of his trials and tribulations and things that worked and things that didn't work for him. And if you can learn from other people's mistakes, then you don't have to make the same ones yourself, right?
I think that's totally right. But I think another thing that you have to be curious and
Yeah,
you have to be creative, but you also have to have one foot grounded in reality. When you read something, think through it and say, hey,
yeah,
does this apply to us? If someone's, adding minis to their game in order to make it cater to more people, well, does your game need minis? Do you really want to take on $5,000 or more of tooling costs? Because that's a
yeah.
big chunk of change. So and then, when you look at a lot of blogs, I think when Stonemaier Games was going through the Kickstarter phase, this was a very different industry,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure. Yeah,
COVID changed everything.
yeah,
In some ways, it caused the industry to explode, and with so many new customers, right? People wanted more and more games. More people were interested in the industry than ever because they had time. But you also have more people who are designing games than ever.
yeah.
So you have a market that's starting to flood in its own right. You have small names who become mega influencers. The world has changed, and I think the most valuable resource is your ability to just send an email to someone. The amazing thing is no one in this industry is like unreachable. If you want to go talk to someone, then just send them an email or send them a message. They're all there. Board Game Geek is a great place to just like send a message to someone. I've reached out to a ton of publishers just asking them, hey, I'm curious, like, how do you do this or how did you do that? And these are not trade secrets that people are trying to keep to themselves. This is a community. And
Yeah.
networking is the biggest value that I found in trying to take a game to market.
It is shocking how accessible people are in this
Yeah,
industry. Like you would not expect to be able to reach people, but you can reach pretty much anybody. And everyone is very giving and willing to pay it forward and kind of rising tides raise all boats attitude, right? Like you will
exactly.
not find anybody kind of keeping their cards close to their chest. They
Mhm.
will they will tell you exactly what they've done. The difference is it's not always easy, and
Right, right.
sometimes there's going to be hard truths that people don't want to hear. Like sometimes the math is the math, right? And how you the following you have going into your campaign is going to dictate the funding you have coming out the back end of your campaign. And
Yeah.
you still run into the odd person saying, oh well, that's not going to pertain to me. I've got a bunch of family and friends that are really excited about this game. And it's they look at Kickstarter like a crowd finder versus a crowd funder,
Oh yeah,
and
that's
unfortunately
not
they have to
the
learn
case.
the hard way, right? The lessons you and I already have learned that no, you need to bring the audience, and it can
Yep.
be very successful, but if you don't bring the audience, you're in for a lot of pain. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Kickstarter is amazing because it gives you an opportunity to build up hype and to deliver on a campaign, to execute the campaign.
yeah,
And you can use any platform you want. But yes, there's discovery that happens on that platform, and there are super backers who bear the brunt of the kind of development of a lot of games here.
hmm
It's a really interesting kind of investment model for an industry, but you you have to bring your backers. And if you're just starting out, you're not going to do that by just saying, hey, I know 12 people. A lot of people will tell you, or one thing I read a lot and I think is really important to consider is uh, your friends and family are not the ones who are going to fund your game. It's the thousand other backers
yeah,
who are going to do it. Because if you do one game and it's all from friends and family, I don't know if you can really expect them to buy every game you try to put out there. And if it only takes 100 backers to fund your project, then you're probably not looking at the scale and the opportunity that can come from a lot of the games that are being put out there.
yeah,
So you really have to figure out how to engage with the market and network. And that's something I'm learning about every day, right? Like
yeah.
right now, I'm trying to figure out like how do you conference? Like as a game designer, how do you conference as a publisher? How do you conference as a participant? How do you make that kind of pillar of the industry a cornerstone of your business? because running a business is what you're doing here when you're a publisher. It's
Yeah.
not about getting your game out there. It's about turning that into an enterprise that you can build on.
Oh, absolutely. Now with Red Dog, talk to us about this. So where did this idea come from?
Yeah, Red Dog Junction started out as a game called Space Freight, and
Mm.
Space Freight came from the designers Tyler and Brendan Cheeves. It's a father-son duo here in Portland. They love. They are both designers and creators, makers, and they've been making all sorts of things for a long time. But their kind of big fix lately has been building community.
Mm.
So they started a game design meetup, and they met a bunch of people, and they came up with this game for Space Freight, which became Red Dog. And it was built on a previous game that they designed called Blockchain.
Mm.
But it's one of those things where they're making games and meeting new people in the Portland area, and that meetup, the Gamecraft or Stumptown Game Crafters meetup, was kind of the place where people just brought in ideas and games and just developed them. And this game was one of the ones that really floated to the top. So when I came into the fold and met these guys, they're super fun. It's kind of this shop environment where they have a laser cutter and
Mm.
3D printers and all that stuff. So you can really prototype, and it's offered at no cost or low cost. So it's not a print shop; it's a community. It's a playtesting group of passionate designers who love getting together on Mondays. Today's a Monday; I'll be there. But that's where Red Dog Junction came from. They had this game, and it had been play tested for like 3 years, and we took it to Kickstarter, but we got a lot of really good feedback. Speaking about how to learn as a game designer, as a publisher, you got to listen to the people who you're working with and listen to your community. They felt that the game lacked personality, and they felt that the game, like the mechanics were great and the gameplay was great, but it just didn't have that feel.
Mm.
It felt more amateur than it felt professional. It didn't feel like it was ready or done. Even though like the game itself played really well, it was fun, and every time you pick it up, like the first time I played it, I was captivated by like how easy it was to learn and how fast it plays. But it has like that kind of feel of those heavy or like medium heavy type game decisions. So I kind of stepped in and said, "Hey, let's go do this game right. Like, let's you want personality? Let's go find the artist who has the most personality." Which we chose Marie Bergeron, who did Thunder Road and Ego and
Oh yeah.
a few other games. So she brought the personality to the game, and it was a true blessing working with her because her illustrations are amazing.
I can definitely see the Thunder Road vibe now that you
Yeah,
mention that, eh? Yeah, it's super cool. Like and these little models that I guess the little freighters that carry the cargo, those come in the game.
yeah, yeah. I don't know how to show them in the screen. Maybe
I get them on
you can
screen right
see
here.
me.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. So it comes with 5 unique ships. The limited edition, which is more of a deluxe version, includes 2 extra ships. So when you start the game, you pick your freighter, and it's in some ways it's a pick up and deliver game. In other ways, it's a worker placement game. But it's really about building a hand of cards or a deck of cards. But it's not really a deck builder because your cards are all available all the time, and that dictates what you can do, what actions you have, and the efficiency of each action. So to move, you have cowboys, and that specifies how many cubes you can fit on your ship. And when you mine, that's specified by the number of miners you have. More
Mm.
miners, more mining actions. And then the goal is to get as much gold as you can. So it's a bit of a gold rush. It's got some tactical decision making in there. You can definitely engage in space piracy if you want. So it really depends on who's playing and what cards are available on the card market. So it's got a really great balance of like this action efficiency, this engine building type of gameplay, but
Yeah.
also responding to not only what are your other players doing, but what's available. So you're completing contracts, you're trading for gold, and you kind of gotta accept the fact that you might not get your whole shipment back home safe and sound. But once you accept that, you can really have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it looks super cool. I mean, and now you had said that like you learned from putting on. So did you guys put on Kickstarter and you pulled it at one point, or?
We did. Yeah. So we put up Space Freight, and we set a goal
Mm.
of 20,000, I believe. And we needed about like 22,000 to actually manufacture the game. But
Yeah.
we made a couple mistakes. First one was I think we put out a too premium of a game for the art that we had. We wanted with Red Dog, we wanted to make sure that it was 100% human made, which is a really big thing.
Yeah.
When we did Space Freight, a lot of the art was done by the time I joined in, and a lot of the story was done too. But the story really, I think there's a big difference between a game designer handing off a game that's ready to a publisher where it's got the mechanics, it got the light theme, but the publisher sometimes has a great opportunity to add like some really deep story to a game, and we did that like in spades with Red Dog. We worked with a guy in the meetup who's an artist, like a creative, or he's an artist, but he's a writer, creative writer, and he came up with the story of Red Dog Junction and like all the different cards. So that narrative you can check out in our updates on the Kickstarter campaign. We put a little stories from Red Dog at the bottom of each one.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to create a universe that you can explore, because that's the opportunity of space, right? Star Wars, Star Trek, all these huge empires of this kind of sci-fi world. It's about the worlds, it's about the universes you can dive into.
And certainly, mission accomplished, right? You still got 15 days to go. And for those who are, I'm going to put it in Canadian dollars. It's the only way I can see it. But you're at $103,000 on a goal of 34,000. 836 backers. Still, again, you're only halfway through the campaign, so that will definitely have kind of the uptick at the end as well.
Sure.
So I'm sure you guys are going to be very happy with where you land, but you're already 5 times what you're at as your goal the first time around. So clearly, I think you made the right call in terms of kind of reskinning and bringing more story elements into the game.
Yeah, it came out really well, and we have opportunity to expand it if people are really interested in that. And we actually have a little bit of the expansions, or a couple of the expansions that we've been working on in the limited edition. So there's a bank robber in there, which can be a little fun. It adds a little bit of a gambling mechanic, but it's definitely not essential, and there's no guarantee to win that way. Then there's another element that gives a completely different unique path to victory, which doesn't have anything to do with gold. So the nice thing about having your own meetup and your own community to design a game and playtest is you can come up with tons and tons of ideas. And this is not just designed by 2 people, this is designed by like 100 people. Every idea is an idea that gets considered, and this was really designed by a community. And it's amazing what people come up with, because you can't figure that out all on your own. The first game I worked on, it was really just my wife and I designing it, and we missed out on so many opportunities. And I think if Alpenglow comes back, we'll really tap into the community, because that's what makes the game so great. Board games, the only big difference between board games and video games is the fact that there's community, there's player interaction in person, right? So that needs to be part of the game design side as well as the game playing side.
Yeah, I once had a boss say, no one has a monopoly on great ideas. And it's true. There's so many times like I'll be showing what I think is kind of a finished, polished version. Even now, like our last game that we had on Kickstarter, and I had a buddy who at my local meetups like, I just keep thinking about those terrain cards you have on the table, and they're kind of, you got this kind of off gray color, and man, there's so much color in the rest of the game. I kind of wish those had been like, if you had made those like pink clouds almost, or like, so you're looking down over the surf, like something a little more graphical. And my initial reaction is always, thanks, but we're already going to print files are already ready and go to the manufacturer. But then the other side of me always listens to feedback. And so I sat on it, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. He's right, damn it. So we went and out to the community and said, okay, guys, we've got a VIP group on Facebook, and started doing polls. Okay, so here's, some of the feedback was they want to see more color. Here's 2 examples. What do you guys like?
Yeah.
Everyone gravitates to more color. Okay. But then different people had different ideas of what that color could be, right? So then we started just almost like a democracy, right? Kind of going through, here's different designs, everybody vote. And now we're at a final design, or semifinal that we're just polishing now of those terrain boards is based on all of our VIPs feedback and votes
Yeah.
on the direction that goes. So the best
Yeah,
thing.
that's huge. That's huge. With Alpenglow, our first game, we were making changes during the campaign. One of the backers like, hey, cubes are boring. Make the little skiers.
Yeah.
And so the campaign, the backers literally, uh, we tapped into the backers to design the little skeeples. The community named them skeeples. And that's one of the best selling parts of the game. It's like, oh hey, I have all these little skiers. And if you look at all the
Yeah.
content creation that's happened since, everyone pulls out the little skiers. So you got to listen to your customers, because that's who you're making the game for. If you want to make a game for yourself, well, that's really easy. You go make the game for yourself. And in our meetup, we call it the shelf game. When your game is done and you're no longer willing to level it up,
Yeah.
to take feedback and make improvements, and that's when you take the game and you put it up on the shelf. It's done.
Yeah.
But if you want to put the game out there and really build a world around it, then you got to keep listening to your customers, because they know what they want.
Yeah. And I think where else can you get that kind of communal input in any other business, right? Where if you're working in a design firm, you'd have to pay a bunch of people to come in and weigh in on whatever it is you're creating, right? Whereas,
Right.
here you've got that for free. It's out there. You have
Yeah.
all this feedback for free that you can take advantage of. So, yeah, it definitely helps kind of polish and kind of take you to the next level. So, and clearly I can see that here. What was it like? So did you officially sign these guys as the publisher to bring them on board, or what was that process?
Yeah. So they run the meetup that I'm a part of, and I help run the meetup now. And we've slowly but surely been kind of establishing more of a formal partnership where Waterworks Games, our goal is to elevate the voices of and the designs of local designers.
Yeah.
So we see the Stumptown community as a great source of a lot of games that we believe should be out there. These are games that we know people are going to love. And I've probably played maybe 200 different games in the last year at the meetup. It's just, there's so many games, so many ideas coming through. And sometimes you play one that's completely broken, but that's just as fun as a game that feels polished, because there's so much opportunity there. So that's kind of how it works. But these guys had a game, and it was about that relationship that I built with them as people. And I felt that they're people I really wanted to work with and partner with, and I liked their game too. I felt that it definitely had potential from gameplay, and taking it to where it is now with the art and components and everything. It's great. But we definitely are on a team, and I think that's really important for us to make sure that a good game or a great game is something that we're interested in as a publisher. But I'm more interested in finding a partner who can help us, truly level up a game, make it what it really wants to be. And with Red Dog, I think that's the product of it compared to Space Freight, where that was really just a game that, I was told, hey, it's ready. And, there's a big difference. So.
And what's the plan from here? Are you guys, is this a long-term endeavor for you now? Are you guys now full-time publisher? What's the goal? Where are you going from here?
I think we're headed towards full-time publisher. We have some investment backing that's helping us kind of, maintain a steady course, but we're looking at an upward trajectory in terms of growth for game after game.
Nice.
We have Red Dog on Kickstarter right now. If everything goes swimmingly, we might see copies in the States by the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
But we said March 2026 for delivery. So I'm really hoping we can beat that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get some really cheap shipping in February. But, going from here, we have another game that I personally designed with the meetup called PDX. That game it's a bit of a homage to our community here. It's also, having a little exposure to the project or the remodel of the airport. It's kind of a tile placement, engine builder, engine tuning game. It's really fun. That game is going to launch in the fall on Kickstarter as well. So, that one, we're working with a local artist, and it's been really great. You can learn more on our website. We also have that project collecting followers on Kickstarter. We also have another game, a smaller, party game called Tembo Tiles. The game is a bit of it's a tile placement, like matching game. So flip all the tiles upside down, and simultaneously everyone, you can play like 2 to 6 players. Technically you can go up to 12 players, but everyone gets around the table and just starts flipping over tiles. You pick up a tile and it has an animal and a color on it, and you can put it next to the matching animal or a matching color, and you kind of have this amoeba grow. So that game is designed, art by Isaac Lefever, and that's going to go straight to market. So we're going to put that on Amazon, and all of our games are going to be available on AllPlay's web store too. So
amazing.
We definitely have some games that we're ready to get out there into the world. But we also have some games that are, in our back pocket that we're really excited to get out there too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we have a bit of a roadmap, and we're hoping that this is going to be a really great year. And, these projects are going to help support not only the projects themselves, PDX and Red Dog getting out there, but, supporting the development of new games and really drawing from some of the designers in the Stumptown community.
Nice. Well, for those who want to check this out, I will put a link in the show notes, or you can go to Kickstarter and type in Red Dog Junction, and it'll pop up. I'm sure it's on the For You page as well. Oh man, Sean, I want to wish you guys all the best on this. This game looks super cool, and I can't wait to see where you guys finish. Halfway in already, $100,000. Man, the sky's the limit on this one, and I'll be looking forward to seeing your next launch this fall, my friend.
Thank you much, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. You take care. Cheers.
You.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.